G'day and welcome to Epic E-Bikes. Today we've got a Trek Domane Plus here that we're going to unlock. We're going to install a chip from PairTune to unlock this TQ50 motor and achieve speeds greater than 25 kilometers per hour. This will be similar on other similar bikes with the same motor, so you can follow along and we'll show you how to do this now. Alright, first step is we're going to flip the bike upside down so we can more easily take the motor out. Step one, we're going to take the bash guard off. There's two Allen key bolts, and you can get these without removing the chainring. Alright, so now we're going to take off the crank arm so we can get access to removing this bash cover. Alright, so now we've removed the screws either side of this crank arm. One over here, one over here. You'll notice there's a big bolt here that's sort of, there's a hole in the guard that this sticks out of, so you gotta watch out for that. So at this point we want to lift the guard up like that, and you want to make sure it's clearing that bolt. If you can see now, it's just sort of in front of it. There we go. As the guard comes up, we'll spin the bike around to show you the other side. Alright, so as we bring the guard towards us, there's a few slots that it sticks into. One is around this bolt. It's a nice molded piece of plastic, so you just want to be careful not to damage that as you take this cover off. Next step, we're going to pop out the motor so we can get access to the plugs. So we've got two 6mm Allen keys here. Alright, so now we'll lift the motor out of the frame. There we go, so we twist the front up and then pull it back. Here's the main plugs. So the one we need is this little one here, which is the speed sensor. Alright, bike's upside down, so it's a bit tricky to film, but we've got to remove this charge port. There's three T8 Torx screws, so we're going to remove those now. So there's the first one, and there's two more at the back of the charge port, which we won't film now because you can figure that out. Alright, you can see we've taken the three screws out, and now the charge port cover is loose. So if we come up to here, we'll now be able to pull the charge port out. Alright, so before we can remove the charge port properly, the battery connector is right on top of it. So there's a clip there on that side that we're going to push down towards the charge port as we pull the plug out. So here you can see this is the clip with the direction of rotation. Now we can pull out the charge port. Now that all that's removed, we have access to the battery. There's a pull string on it. I'll show you. There it is in my finger. So we've just got to remove this Allen key here holding the battery in. I'm having one finger on that pull strap so the battery doesn't fall forward. Now also at the very top near the fork is another 5mm Allen key securing that battery. Now that's loose, you'll feel the battery can slide up out of the frame. There we go, now we're ready to start installing the chip. Alright, so we'll take off the display, just undo this T10 Torx. Now we'll be able to pop the display out and gain access to the motor plugs. Alright, now we've got the chip, we've got the display out, all the battery motor components out. It's time for threading this longer cable down to the speed sensor. So to do that, I've got a small metal wire here. I'm just going to tape these plugs to the end of it. Simple as that. And then we're going to put them in the display hole. And guide them up the frame. And here they are. Now we'll connect them to the motor before putting in the battery charger port motor again. Alright, so here's the connectors from the chip. Here's the connector from the motor. So we're going to unplug it from the motor. Now we're going to plug the chip into the speed sensor. These are non-directional, but I like to line up the logos. The same with the other one. So this one's the one coming from the motor. Plug that in. Now that's plugged in. We can now put the battery back in carefully. Now the bottom one's in, we can tighten up the top. Alright, we're going to put the charge port in. We just want to get the battery flap out of the way. Just make sure there's no cables between the charge port and the frame. Put it in like that. We'll get our cover and put that in on the other side. Alright, so now we can see the battery's in, the charge port's in, the motor connector's there. You can see on this connector that it's keyed, so we're just going to line it up so that the side bit here matches with the port there. Alright, now that plug's connected. You do hear an audible click when you get it in. Alright, so now we'll take the motor off this box we've got it resting on. We'll put it back in. Now if we remember, the same way we got it out, it's the way we'll get it in. Now we just make sure that these cables are not in the way of anything in particular. So we'll go down with the front of the motor. And then rotate it back. There we go, into the frame like that. Just make sure these cables are out of the way. Alright, you can see I've got the front hole pretty close, the back not so much. So what I find is if you move the motor forward and jiggle, the back will slot in. There we go. So you just got to line those screw holes up to put our bolts through. Alright, so see these silver lugs here, they go inside these parts of the cover. So if we slide the cover over, while also getting it over the other side. You want to get this side down first, so feel it lock in, and then you want to put the other side down. Easy as that. We'll put the bolts back in that we took out. Alright, now I'll put the 2 Allen key bolts back in. Right, put the crank arm back on. Now we've got the display out. We're going to access this connector with the red ring. And then on the pair tune chip, we're going to get these connectors, the red and the black. We're going to connect them where the other one was connected. Now there's arrows on the connectors, so match up the arrows. Same on the other connector. And now we want to get the chip, feed it into this down tube carefully, as well as any excess cables. Alright, now that all the cables are in, we can just screw the display back in. Simple as that. Alright, so that was the install. It's a little bit complicated, but if you take it step by step, there's no problem doing it yourself. So hopefully that's been helpful to you. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. And remember to like and subscribe if you can. Thanks again.